morning, Mosaics. I wanted to continue in our series of forgiveness, and today I wanted to look at very quickly, well, try to do it very quickly. I may even break it up because this is important. Talking about forgiving ourselves. Last time we took a look at how forgiveness, even with the Bible, is tied in with anger and stress and just this conflict within our hearts. And if you've ever not forgiven someone or had to deal with facing the responsibility or opportunity to forgive somebody, you know how that is. Maybe you don't. Maybe you never recognize that anger, and hopefully that video kind of expressed and explained to you why some of the things you might be feeling. But before we look into actually forgiving others, I think one of the most key factors that we overlook so many times is forgiving ourselves. In sharing in the very first introduction of the series, talking about my being molested, that brought on a lot. As a child, it brought on a lot of guilt. And growing up, the anger that billowed up inside and the things that I took out on other people, or the actions that you can trace back to being affected by that. And I'm not saying I wasn't responsible for my actions. I'm not saying that. I don't want to put blame on something and say, this is why I did it, and then walk away from the responsibility. We are all responsible for our actions, no matter what the source is. But in that, I look back, and I don't shy away that, I've been married 3 times. I don't shy away from the fact that in my marriages, there were things that I did out of anger, or things that I did against those marriages before I really faced forgiving and forgiveness, that now I look back and I have this overwhelming guilt and this pain and this hurt, and I hold on to it. Or it might be, maybe you felt like you were a part of whatever happened that you have to forgive. Maybe you were a part of it, and because of that, you hold yourself responsible for it. Maybe there's a situation that something's happened. Maybe you have been abused or sexually assaulted, or maybe something has happened in your life that you look at, and for some reason, either rightfully so or wrongfully so, you have placed yourself into the center, and you have this guilt and this rock that's sitting on you, and you look in the mirror and you don't like what you see. And words such as, just condescending words, such as, it was your fault. You're a loser. Wow, you really screwed that up. You'll never amount to anything. Why are you even feeling this way? It was your fault. These things become deflating. And in essence, what we do is we begin to take our identity and who we are. And I've talked about this before. We take our identity of who we are, and we attach and we wrap it up, almost like wrapping it in bacon. We wrap our guilt, our unforgiveness, our anger, our pain, and everything. We wrap ourselves up, wrap our identity up in that. And so that when we look at it, all we can see is our identity. I'm here to tell you that's not you. And I'm here to tell you that's not your identity. What you've done is you've given the authority of whatever that incident is, and however you've attached yourself to it, you've given the authority of your happiness and your identity over to that. So today I want to talk to you and tell you, forgive yourself. I didn't really begin to tell anyone about being molested for many, many years later. And there were years that I felt so guilty that I was at fault. I began to look back. I look back as a 15-year-old, look back as a 16-year-old, and I would say, well, I could have stopped it. I could have done this. And so I began to take the anger and the unforgiveness that I had toward the individual who did it to me, and began to put it on me, and I became angry at myself. And this is so self-defeating that it affects us on so many levels that I can't even, I wouldn't even be able to have time to express. What I had to do is I had to finally sit down and tell myself, Nathan, you are looking back in hindsight. All right, so if the video just jumped, it's only because I'm doing this through my phone, and something happened with my phone which stopped the video. So I will so understand that if the video just had a transition on it, that's why. But what I was saying was, what I had to do is take a look and say, Nathan, you're looking back on this incident. First of all, full insight of what happened. Second of all, you're looking back with many more years of experience, many more years of age. All of this changes. What I want you to do today is I want you to go and I want you to self-reflect. I want, if it requires you to write something down on paper, do so. Write down an incident that comes to mind that you feel guilty about, that you may not have forgiven yourself about, and I want you to write your feelings about yourself, not anybody else, yourself, on that piece of paper. And when you do so, and when you get done, and I want you to use very descriptive words, whatever comes to mind of how you feel about yourself, I want you to write it down. When you've done that, I want you to look at that piece of paper, and I want you to forgive yourself. You say, Nathan, I don't know how to do that. I'm not sure if I can, and here's how. First of all, here's what I want you to do. I want you to read this out loud, and then I want you to say, whoever you are, for example, for me, Nathan, I forgive you. I want you to say it out loud. Nathan, well, not your name, I forgive you. And then I want you to take the things you've written down, and I want you to turn them into a positive. For example, for me it was, as I was looking and I began to look at the thing, I was like, oh, I could have stopped it. Nathan, you couldn't have stopped it. Now maybe it's something that you were responsible for, but it's done. You've forgiven yourself. So I want you to take a look, and if you feel, let's say you feel like you're in a losing position, you can say, Nathan, or whoever you are, your name, you are forgiven of this. It's in the past. You're free. You are free. That is the key thing. Understanding that once you have forgiven yourself, you're free. I'll talk more about what forgiveness is not, because I think that's key. But before we got into any of this, I really wanted to talk about forgiving yourself. Before you can forgive anybody else, before you can do anything else, before you can understand anything more, you must free yourself. When you get done with that list and you've acknowledged that you've forgiven yourself, even if you have to look in the mirror and look at yourself and say the words, I forgive. And it may not be, I am not saying it's going to be easy. It may be something that you try and you can't do and you have to come back to. Then do it. Come back. When you do, after you've done that, I want you to take that piece of paper. I want you to shred it and throw it away. It is gone. You are free. Till next time, Mosaics, I challenge you to continue to look at forgiveness. Do some research on it. At the same time, if there's anything that we can do as the leadership here in Mosaic, if you have a question specifically about forgiveness, contact us. Put it on the Facebook page or private message myself, Ash Cox, or Mitch Noble, and we are there. We are here for you. If you just need prayer, if there's something that you need that you're struggling with, and you say, "Man, I just feel alone," you're not. I promise you, you're not. Thank you. Until next time.